Hello and welcome back, friends. I'm sure you guys remember the iconic event in the world of comics in the 80s where we saw the demise of Batman's sidekick, Jason Todd. However, was it really the character of Robin that lost its charm, or was it DC's hasty attempt to replace Dick Grayson with Jason Todd, leading to the grim decision? Nonetheless, Batman: A Death in the Family marks the end of Robin's contributions to Bruce Wayne's thrilling escapades, and surprisingly, it was the fans who decided so. But hold on, there's a new twist to this decades-old narrative with the release of Death in the Family: Robin Lives miniseries. Let's take a look at how exactly the Boy Wonder's destiny unfolded this time. Before we go into our explanation, we have a very small request. If you like our content, please support us by subscribing to our channel. This is a small click for you, but for us it means a lot. Thank you, and let's begin. Batman: A Death in the Family. How fans chose Robin's fate. According to the original storyline of the comic, A Death in the Family, Batman's most loyal sidekick Robin dies at the hands of his arch-nemesis the Joker, and as I already said, this was a decision taken by the fans. So let's take a look at how fans made this important decision to finish off Robin back in 1988, shall we? The position of our Dark Knight sidekick was left empty when Dick Grayson took on the role of leading the Teen Titans and stepped out of Batman's shadow. Now, that's when Jason Todd succeeded him as Batman's partner in Don Newton and Doug Moench's Batman number 366 of 1983. So why did fans vote to kill Todd in the comic? When Todd was introduced in the DC universe, the creators failed to give him a unique identity and made him a mere cut-and-paste version of Grayson. Todd's red hair was dyed black and he was clothed in the same uniform as Grayson. This did not sit well with fans. Even when DC tried to add special quirks and distinctive personality to Todd after the Crisis on Infinite Earths, Todd never really won the hearts of the fans. On the other hand, writer Jim Starlin was waiting to pull the plug on Robin, considering the loss of importance of superhero sidekicks at the time, and this gave him the perfect chance. Eventually, DC put Robin's fate in the hands of the fans, and in the comic A Death in the Family, he sadly meets his end. This comic was a game changer of its time. Unlike any other comics of the 80s, Batman's A Death in the Family had 2 numbers in the last page advertisement on which readers can make a call for just 50 cents and determine whether Todd lived or not. When DC tabulated the results, it was quite a shock. Starlin noted that there was only a difference of 72 votes between keeping the character and killing him off, while he expected the fans to be much more harsh about their decision to sentence the character to death they weren't fond of. Nonetheless, this narrow difference in votes made Todd die at the hands of the Joker. Based on the original narrative, Todd's mother deceived him, allowing the Joker to beat him to the brink of death. The clown prince of crime decided to go one step further and imprison Todd and his mother in a warehouse in Ethiopia with a bomb. In the end, the explosion claimed the lives of Todd and his mother. If you think DC had planned to take the final decision to kill Jason Todd irrespective of the fans' votes, you're wrong. Wait a little, I'll soon tell you why. Back in the 1988 timeline, Jason's demise was not absolute, like most other deaths in comics. He was finally brought back into the Under the Hood storyline in 2005, written by Doug Mahnke, Judy Winnick, and Eric Battle. Thanks to the makers, this time, Todd's shot at life turned out to be much more successful when he returned as the murderous villain, Red Hood. In the new 52/DC Rebirth universe, Todd is a more complex anti-hero who has a complicated relationship with Batman. However, viewers have fully welcomed him into the Batman family. Todd has appeared in multiple roles as Red Hood and Robin in various movies, TV shows, and video games. Jason Todd's appearance in the 2020 adaptation of the comic into the superhero film Batman: A Death in the Family is arguably the best. A spiritual sequel to Batman Under the Red Hood, this movie is celebrated for being an interactive animated movie that explores the alternate outcomes of the famous 1988 Batman comic by the same name. Now, that's not all. Being interactive in nature, audiences are presented with a choice point for 10 seconds to decide the fate of the characters, leading to 7 alternate endings. Thus, in the movie, the fans could decide to create different fates for Robin, and maybe he could escape the death knell after all this time. But it is not just about this movie. In December 2023, DC came up with a miniseries where we can see the alternate ending of Robin. The fans did not vote for him to die. What happens when Robin survives in Death in the Family? I hope you guys are all set to see this what-if storyline for Batman's A Death in the Family comic, and I don't need to tell you that these previously untold versions of the stories are absolute roller coaster rides. So, 35 years after Robin's death in the 1988 classic Batman A Death in the Family, Batman number 428 hit the comic book racks in February 2024, where production director Bob Rozakis made two different versions of Todd's fate. In the end of this comic, we can see a change of story, where instead of a funeral scene, Batman visits Todd in a hospital who lies in a state of comatose, paving the way for the next issue of Batman number 429, Robin Lives. Now, coming to the latest release, Batman number 429 from the DC Vault, Death in the Family, Robin Lives number 1, written by J.M. DeMatteis, readers can experience a storyline about Robin and where he lives. Yes, for the few voters in 1988 who wanted Robin to live, their wishes came true. In this version, published last week, we see what happens when Jason Todd surprisingly survives the brutal attack of the Joker and a glimpse of his life after recovery. But one of the biggest Easter eggs in this issue is the Joker's death. Let's take a look at how 1988's classic story unfolds differently this time. The story opens with a bold move, where we can see the Joker shot in the head on the first page, and the GNN newsroom reporting on it. However, it remains unclear whether Batman himself pulled the trigger or if he was just present to witness the death of his greatest adversary. I believe the death of this costumed terrorist will be a story for another time. The story then progresses towards a flashback tracing some important events and encounters before the Clown Prince's assassination. Interestingly, this comic series deals with an angry and edgy Bruce Wayne who is pretty much done with his pledge not to kill. While Jason suffers from PTSD and is reluctant to talk about his traumas, Bruce's anger against the Joker increases. Moreover, he struggles with regret for having put Jason in a situation where he almost died. A few pages into the comic, we can see Jason Todd fighting for his life on a hospital bed after being attacked by the Joker. When everyone seemingly lost all hope, Todd won against all odds. If you ask me, it was indeed a wonder how this boy wonder pulled through. In the meantime, the Iranian government has decided to remove Joker as their ambassador to the United Nations and revoke his diplomatic immunity. Needless to say, this infuriated the Clown Prince, who then tried to torturously kill the newsbearer. Luckily, this is the very moment when our hero in the black cape steps in, and what follows is a grim struggle between the two. Being confronted by Batman, the Joker tries to escape in his infamous Joker boat and uses all his decades-old gizmos. I'm sure here you guys will catch the uncanny similarity between the Joker from 1968's television series fighting with Frank Miller's Dark Knight version of Batman. His bright appearance, cliché retorts, and whimsical nature are bound to invoke nostalgia in the readers. However, Joker's escape attempts fail, and he falls into the river only to be saved by Superman. Remember we saw in the last issue that Superman was following Batman to prevent an international crisis? Yes, it was this crossover between two of the greatest heroes of DC that continued in this issue and somehow saved Joker's life for the time being. After this scenario, Joker is shifted back to where he belongs, the Arkham Asylum, under the supervision of Dr. Benjamin Stoner. It is indeed a riddle how the Joker was shot to death after this point. After this fierce struggle between Batman, Joker, and Superman, the scene lifts to a dining table conversation in the Wayne Manor, where, in spite of all efforts by Bruce and Alfred, Todd does not open up about his past traumas. Frustrated, he walks out and comes across none other than Dick Grayson, the OG Robin. Initially reluctant by Dick's approach, Todd wanted to shrug him off, but realized he's the only one who understands what it means to be Batman's partner and enviously admires him. Meanwhile, Bruce reaches out to a professional therapist, Dr. Saraswati Dave, to talk about Todd's admission into her institute. However, this news enrages Todd, who ends up blaming Bruce for his misery. Todd's anger made him even more determined to prove his worth to Batman, and upon receiving the news of unrest at the Gotham Museum, he wasted no time reaching the spot. Here we see another of Batman's major enemies, the Scarecrow, aka Dr. Jonathan Crane, who is actually a psychiatrist in the Arkham Asylum. He is known for using the fear toxin, a psychotropic hallucinogenic that causes the victims to envision their worst fears. So it is the orange costume monster that Robin has to fight to prove that he is not defined by his past traumas. This was indeed a challenge, and in my opinion, it is this grit of his that makes him a worthy partner of Batman. Though he came prepared to ward off the fear toxin, he ultimately fell prey to it. Unfortunately, Robin soon realizes that he is not ready to take down Scarecrow all by himself, and adding to his plight were the hallucinations. It is no surprise that Robin's worst fear is the Joker, and the gas created disturbing images of the latter beating him with his notorious crowbar. However, in his vision, he is saved by his mother, Sheila Haywood. Just when there was some solace for Todd in his mother's arm, he comes back to his senses and sees that the Scarecrow is attacking him. Fortunately, Batman reaches the scene in the nick of time and knocks down the Scarecrow. He is then arrested by the police, while Batman realizes how much Robin needs him and promises to always protect him. That was a happy reunion, huh? Marvelous verdict. So that was our ride in Gotham City today. This comic indeed thrives on the biggest mystery: who killed the Joker and why? However, the resurgence of Jason Todd and his camaraderie with Batman also hints at the diverse stories will unravel in this alternate world where Robin lives. But that's not all, folks. The subtle references to Batman's greatest enemies like Two-Face and Poison Ivy and the face-off with Scarecrow only show how nuanced this series is about to be. This has surely been a great start, and I believe it will only get better from here. Grab your copy now and hop on this thrilling journey. Let us know your thoughts about Robin's return and Joker's death in the comments below. I'll see you in the next one. And if you liked our content, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to us if you haven't already. Have a good one and be safe. Thanks, everyone.